CSO estimates between April 2016 and April 2017 suggest that over 27,000 Irish emigrants have returned to Ireland, and this is very welcome news. But many are encountering severe difficulties and hurdles when they return, particularly in their dealings with financial institutions. And I would like to know what specific actions are being taken by you and your department to support Irish emigrants who wish to return to Ireland, and if you will outline what progress is being made.
Very good. Thank you for that question. And this is essentially responding to a good news story to make sure that when people come home, they make that transition in as positive a way as possible. And the Government is committed to working to facilitate Irish people living abroad who wish to return to live and work in Ireland. We're working to ensure that moving or returning to Ireland is as easy as possible for them. The Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, through the Emigrant Support Programme, provides significant funding and support to organisations including Crosscare Migrant Project and Safe Home Ireland, which work with citizens who wish to return to Ireland. Over the last decade, over €4 million has been allocated to Irish-based organisations working with returning emigrants, and funding for these organisations this year is in line with recent years. The Minister of State for the Diaspora, Kieran Cannon, chairs the Interdepartmental Committee on the Irish Abroad, which works to ensure that the Government works in a joined-up way to realise the objectives of Ireland's diaspora policy. This includes addressing issues affecting the Irish abroad and those seeking to return home. The role of the Minister of State as chair of the IDC is to raise areas of concern to Irish people abroad with departments with responsibility for those areas. Work is continuing in a number of departments on addressing practical issues that have been raised by the Interdepartmental Committee. To build on the work of this committee in addressing such barriers, the Department of Foreign Affairs has commissioned an economic report on barriers to returning home. The report will be completed in the coming weeks and will inform government policy and actions in relation to difficulties that it finds. In addition to assisting to address potential barriers, the Department of Foreign Affairs is always looking for new and innovative ways to assist Irish people abroad and those returning. To support returning immigrants in a practical way, the Department has established Back to Business, a mentoring programme for returning immigrants to help them set up business in Ireland and to contribute fully to local communities and economies across the country. This pilot programme is currently underway and will be reviewed on completion.
Thank you very much.
I know there are some other practical issues in relation to driver's licences and so on, and we're looking to try and put solutions in place in that area.
Minister, the response is pretty vague. I hope you don't mind me saying so, and I think it really misses the fundamental point of what I'm trying to get to. Of all of those 27,400 people that returned, the vast majority of them will have serious difficulties getting car insurance. They will be rated on the basis that their previous driving experience in places like Canada is not taken into account, and previous driving record in Ireland, by the way, any previous no-claims bonus, all that is all set aside. So these are practical measures where I'm asking if your department and your minister has met with the Irish Insurance Federation, for argument's sake, to say, why are you adding loadings and premium loadings onto returning emigrants? Secondly, if I put it to you in relation to health insurance, most returning emigrants are now told that there's a postponement period of 12 months whereby they will get no health cover while they return to Ireland, and most of them cannot transfer that health cover back to Ireland. Practical measure to talk to companies like VHI. Finally, if you take the banks, for argument's sake, and that's why I put it to you, need to meet the Irish Banking Association and Federation, is that people who are applying for a mortgage here are now asked by Bank of Ireland to provide a P60 for the previous year's earnings. Now, these are people who have returned, and they won't accept foreign revenue documents from Canada or from the United States or others. So they're real practical measures. I welcome the fact, on conclusion, that well, I'll come back. Okay, thank you.
I mean, I don't disagree on this. I mean, there are a whole series of examples of areas where we need to provide a more seamless transition than is currently available for people who are coming home. That is why we have commissioned an economic report. We're spending in and around €75,000 on that to get it done. It will be ready in the next few weeks, and that will then itemise the kind of things that you're giving, anecdotal evidence on and good examples on in terms of issues where there perhaps needs to be intervention. My department then, and Minister Cannon in particular, will have to play a coordinating role then between government departments to make sure that we can make intervention where appropriate in different sectors and different areas. I'll happily report on progress on that when we get that economic report back.
Minister. Now, you have 5 minutes.
Just to conclude, look, thank you for that. I think there are practical measures, and I know that the report on challenges faced by returning Irish emigrants and that economic report you've mentioned will be published in the next few weeks. Could I ask for a commitment that actually be debated here within the House? And I tell you why. There's significant numbers returning, and that is great. That is fantastic. And our embassies, and I've travelled to a number of them, not as many as yourself in your role, but they are meeting people who are querying, well, what happens when you come back to Ireland? How do I get a mortgage? What's happening with insurance premiums? All of these things. There are really practical measures. Your Minister for Finance and your colleague could call in the Irish Banking Federation and say to them, why are you insisting upon these for people who have earnings record in other countries? Why are you insisting on P60s? They could also say to the Insurance Federation, why are you actually setting aside previous driving record in Ireland, not taking into account driving records or claims record in countries like England and in Europe and Canada and the United States? It makes no sense. I actually think what some of these industries are involved in is simply gouging returning Irish emigrants because they know they can make money off their backs. We need to fix it. There's measures that can be taken. So I welcome the response and the commitment via the report, and I would ask you to give a commitment that, if not here in plenary session in the Dáil, that you bring the report to the Foreign Affairs and Trade, the Joint Committee of Foreign Affairs and Trade and the Oireachtas, so we can actually agree the measures that need to be taken urgently.
Thank you, Deputy. Final